One night, inside a car, we see a man named Choi sitting with a quiet woman named Hyron. The two of them are preparing to kidnap a woman from a wealthy family, hoping to demand a huge ransom. Hyran needs the money for her younger sibling's surgery, while Choi says he needs it for his sick child's treatment. Their original plan is simple. Once they receive the ransom, they will release the victim safely. Not long after, the wealthy woman comes out, and they immediately make their move. They manage to overpower her and knock her out. The scene then shifts to Hyran buying several supplies while sending a message to someone. In the message, she says she will soon have the money needed for her sibling's surgery. On the way to the hiding place, Choi throws away Hyran's phone so they cannot be tracked. They also dig a hole, then cover it with black plastic. When they arrive at the place where they will keep the victim, they quickly prepare everything. They cover the windows with plywood, install soundproof foam, and place a mattress inside the room. After that, Hyran checks the woman's ID and learns that her name is Seo Jin. Wearing masks, Choi and Hyran approach Seo Jin, who is handcuffed on the mattress. They do not speak at all because they do not want her to recognize their voices. Instead, they communicate through written messages on a monitor. Seo Jin is terrified, not knowing why she has been kidnapped or locked up there. Through the monitor, Choi asks whether Seo Jin is still close to her father. Seo Jin answers that she has not been in contact with him for a long time. Hearing this, Choi orders Hyran to gag her again. But because Hyran is still nervous, Seo Jin fights back and bites her hand. Choi sees this, and without saying a word, hits Seo Jin until she passes out. Hyran is shocked. From this moment, it becomes clear that Choi is cold and cruel. After that, Choi sends an email to Seo Jin's father, telling him that his daughter is being held captive. He warns him not to waste time and not to report the kidnapping to the police if he wants Seo Jin to survive. They demand a ransom of $1 million, and Choi also sends photos showing Seo Jin's condition. At that moment, Hyran admits she is still unsure about the kidnapping plan and whether it will actually work. Choi stays calm and insists that everything will go smoothly. He tells her to eat so she has enough energy to watch over Seo Jin, but Hyran refuses. That is when Choi shows his cruelty again. He forces Hyran to eat the bread, treating her harshly despite them being partners. It becomes clear that he has no hesitation in using force when his orders are ignored. The next morning, before leaving to get fuel, Choi hands Hyran a walkie-talkie and a gun for protection. He warns her to stay alert, making it clear that if anything goes wrong, he will not hesitate to kill Seo Jin. After he leaves, Hyran secretly hides a phone above the bathroom ceiling. She immediately tries to call someone, but no one answers. So instead, she leaves a message saying that she will soon get the money needed for her sibling's surgery. After that, she searches for information about Seo Jin online. What she discovers shocks her. Seo Jin is actually her half-sister, sharing the same father but a different mother. Their father is Young Shin, a wealthy trading company owner. In the past, he had an affair with Hyran's mother, but to hide that affair from Seo Jin's mother, he abandoned Hyran's mother while she was still pregnant. In that moment, everything changes between them. This is sister. After learning the truth, Hyran approaches Seo Jin again. Seo Jin signals that she needs to use the bathroom, so Hyran brings a bucket and some tissues along with her gun. Embarrassed, Seo Jin asks to be taken to a proper toilet, but Hyran refuses and points the gun at her. Out of fear, Seo Jin has no choice but to use the bucket and asks Hyran to turn around. Still inexperienced and naive, Hyran lets her guard down. The moment she turns away, Seo Jin grabs the bucket and strikes her. A fight breaks out between them. Seo Jin manages to remove Hyran's mask and takes the gun. She points it at Hyran and demands the key to the handcuffs. But Hyran tells her that even if she escapes, there is no way out. The place is locked down with multiple layers of security, and only Choi knows the code. As the tension rises, Seo Jin accidentally fires the gun, and the bullet grazes Hyran's arm. With no other option, Hyran warns that Choi will kill her since her face has been exposed. Seo Jin then asks who Choi really is, and Hyran reveals his name, along with the fact that he holds a grudge against their father, Young Shin. Hyran insists that they never intended to hurt Seo Jin. She asks her to hand over the gun before Choi comes back. But Seo Jin refuses, still determined to shoot unless she gets the key to her handcuffs. With no other choice, Hyran finally reveals the truth. She tells Seo Jin that they are actually half-sisters, both daughters of Young Shin. She explains how she and her younger sibling were abandoned because they were the result of their father's affair. The frustration and pain she has been carrying all this time start to surface, as she questions why she has no right to receive anything from him. Right in the middle of that tense moment, the walkie-talkie suddenly crackles. It is a signal that Choi is on his way back. Afraid that Seo Jin might be killed if things get out of control, Hae Ran urgently asks for the gun again. Just as Seo Jin is about to fire, the gun jams. That brief moment gives Hae Ran the chance to take control and restrain her once more. She quickly tapes up the wound on her arm and cleans up the bathroom, making it look like nothing unusual happened. Still shaken, she rushes to open the door as Choi keeps banging on it. The moment Choi steps inside, his instincts immediately kick in. He checks Seo Jin right away. Hae Ran manages to stay one step ahead, but Choi can still sense that something is off. He presses Hae Ran, questioning why it took her so long to open the door. Under pressure, she claims she was in the bathroom and did not hear him arrive. Choi does not fully trust her explanation, so he heads straight to the bathroom to check. The tension rises as he inspects the room. At one point, he notices a loose screw on the ceiling and decides to take a closer look. For a moment, it feels like everything is about to fall apart, but luckily, he stops just short of discovering the hidden phone. The next morning, Choi prepares porridge for Seo Jin. As Hae Ran watches him feed her, she suddenly realizes something important. The bullet casing from the day before is still there. Seo Jin notices it too. Hae Ran tries to grab it, but she misses her chance. The tension rises when the bowl and spoon Choi placed fall right near the casing. For a brief moment, everything feels like it could fall apart. But Hae Ran reacts quickly, picking up both the spoon and the bullet casing before Choi notices anything. To distract him, Seo Jin pretends to ask for water. Once it is safe, Hae Ran makes a bold move and swallows the bullet casing to get rid of the evidence. After that, they spend some time talking. During this moment, Hae Ran starts to feel uneasy about how cruel Choi has been treating Seo Jin. To him, Seo Jin is nothing more than an object to be used. Wanting to keep her half-sister safe, Hae Ran tells Choi that they need to treat their captive better if they expect to get the ransom. Hearing this, Choi becomes slightly annoyed and leaves the place without saying much. He drives off, heading somewhere unknown. Feeling sorry for Seo Jin, Hae Ran goes back to her. Seo Jin wonders if there has been any response from Young Shin and whether he will pay the ransom. Hae Ran admits that there is still no answer. At that point, Hae Ran suggests that they work together. She asks Seo Jin not to act recklessly again, so everything can go according to plan, because Choi would not hesitate to kill both of them. She also expresses her anger toward their father, revealing that he lied about her mother. In reality, her mother had already passed away when she was young. Since then, she and her sibling have lived a life of hardship, completely different from Seo Jin's life. And now her sibling desperately needs money for surgery. Hae Ran explains that Choi once approached Young Shin, using her name, asking for help. But Young Shin refused and showed no concern when he heard about Hae Ran. Realizing that her father did not care, even if her sibling might die, is what pushed her into agreeing to the kidnapping. When Seo Jin asks how much the surgery costs, Hae Ran reveals that it totals 1 million, including her debts. Seo Jin is surprised and says she actually has around 80,000, which should be enough if it is only for the surgery. She promises to give that money to Hae Ran in exchange for her freedom. Still unsure and afraid of Choi, Hae Ran begins to consider the offer. Later, when Choi returns, he finally receives a response from Young Shin. He wants proof that his daughter is still alive and assures that he will not contact the police. He is willing to pay the ransom. Hearing this, Choi immediately records Seo Jin and forces her to follow his instructions. At first, she refuses, but he strikes her again, leaving her with no choice but to comply. Even then, before finishing, Seo Jin once again tries to resist his control. At this point, Choi's behavior becomes even more disturbing. He starts acting like a psychopath, even going as far as planning to cut off Seo Jin's thumb just because she disobeyed him. The threat alone terrifies her, but thankfully, Hae Ran steps in and manages to stop him before he goes any further. Later, when Choi watches the recording of Seo Jin's suffering, his true nature becomes even clearer. He seems to enjoy her fear. When Hae Ran questions what he finds appealing about it, he reacts violently, striking her and taking out his anger on her. That moment hits Hae Ran hard. She begins to regret getting involved in the kidnapping. Overwhelmed, she goes to the bathroom and ends up throwing up the bullet casing she swallowed earlier. But without realizing it, the toilet is already clogged, leaving the evidence still there. That night, Choi prepares to leave again for another errand. Before going, he gives Hae Ran a sedative and an antidote, instructing her to use them if Seo Jin becomes difficult. What he does not realize is that Seo Jin and Hae Ran have already been communicating behind his back. After he leaves, Hae Ran goes to check on Seo Jin and gently applies ointment to her wounds. In that quiet moment, Seo Jin tries to convince her to leave together, saying there is no need to go this far. Deep down, Hae Ran only wants money, not to hurt anyone. After thinking it through, Hairan tells Seo-jin to prove that she really has the 80,000 she mentioned. If it turns out to be true, she will agree to find a way for both of them to escape. But just as they are about to confirm it, Seo-jin notices the syringe in Hairan's jacket. The moment Hairan lets her guard down, Seo-jin grabs it and injects her. With Hairan subdued, Seo-jin frees herself and immediately starts looking for a way out. It becomes clear that Seo-jin never fully trusted Hairan. She has also just learned that she has more than one half sibling, which only makes the situation more complicated. With all the doors and windows heavily secured, escaping is not easy, especially since the place is isolated in the mountains. While searching, Seo-jin comes across a laptop that belongs to Choi. Something about it feels familiar. When she tries to enter the password, she eventually gets it right after a few attempts. Not long after, Hairan regains consciousness and finds Seo-jin. And this is where a shocking truth is revealed. Seo-jin tells her that the man she knows as Choi is actually named Tai-soo. Even more shocking, Tai-soo is Seo-jin's ex-husband, and he was supposed to still be in prison. On top of that, his story about having a sick child was never true. Seo-jin learned all of this from the laptop since the password had not been changed from before. The revelation leaves Hairan completely stunned, as everything she believed about him turns out to be a lie. Hearing all of that, Hairan explains how she first met Tai-soo while working at a casino. Back then, he convinced her that he was good at finding people. He offered to help her locate her father so she could ask for money for her sibling's surgery. That promise is what made her trust him and agree to work together. But Seo-jin quickly tells her the truth. Tai-soo has been lying from the very beginning. He once tried to kill her and left her with a scar on her stomach. After that, he took her insurance money and disappeared. It becomes clear that Hairan is just his next target, and once he gets the ransom, he will likely get rid of her too. Still weak, Hairan urges Seo-jin to go back upstairs before Tai-soo returns. She knows that escaping right now is almost impossible, so she comes up with a plan. She says she will use sleeping pills to knock Tai-soo out. After that, they can finally think about how to escape together. Not long after, the walkie-talkie crackles again, signaling that Tai-soo is back. Seo-jin quickly hides a pair of pliers under the pillow, while Hairan restrains her again. As soon as he enters, Tai-soo checks Seo-jin's condition. He then notices Hairan sweating heavily, which raises his suspicion. He starts questioning her behavior, clearly sensing that something is not right. Hairan denies anything unusual, trying to stay calm. To carry out her plan, Hairan offers Tai-soo some ramen, intending to mix it with sleeping pills. But while Tai-soo is in the bathroom, he discovers the bullet casing that was left behind. With his sharp instincts, he immediately grows suspicious. Because of that, he refuses to eat the ramen. Instead, he starts questioning Hairan about why she changed the kidnapping target to Seo-jin. Originally, their target was supposed to be Young-shin. From his perspective, kidnapping the father would have been much easier and more profitable. Hairan tries to explain that this way feels easier for her, since she never really wanted to go through with a kidnapping in the first place. But Tai-soo turns her own reasoning against her. He points out the harsh reality of their father, a man who abandoned 2 children just to protect the one he chose to raise. Deep down, that is the truth Hairan has been trying to confirm all along. Hearing this, Hairan falls silent. At that moment, she realizes that Tai-soo has already figured out her intentions. After that, Tai-soo decides to give Seo-jin some medicine, believing she has a fever. But before going upstairs, he deliberately takes Hairan's mask. Then he starts searching for the missing bullet, convinced that it must still be somewhere inside. And just as he expected, he finds it. With that, he calmly sits down beside Seo-jin. Seo-jin thinks the person in front of her is Hairan and assumes the plan worked. She believes Tai-soo has been put to sleep, but in reality, everything has already fallen apart. Tai-soo has figured out their plan. When he removes the mask, Seo-jin finally sees his face, and the shock hits her instantly. From there, Tai-soo reveals his true motive. After the divorce, this is the only way he believes he can get money from Seo-jin. In his mind, none of this would have happened if she had followed his demands and helped him get money from her father. Downstairs, Hairan starts to panic, realizing that their plan has likely been exposed. She quickly looks for something she can use as a weapon and finds a screwdriver. Meanwhile, Tai-soo ignores everything Seo-jin tries to do and immediately sedates her. When Hairan tries to go upstairs, Tai-soo is already there. Acting as if nothing is wrong, he tells her that the ransom money has been delivered and that they need to go pick it up. Hairan questions why they would leave Seo-jin behind if the money's already there. But despite her doubts, she follows him, unaware of what he is really planning. They return to the place where they had previously dug a hole. When Hairan opens the plastic covering it, there is no money inside. Before she can react, Tai-Su suddenly pushes her into the hole. At that moment, the truth is fully revealed. From the very beginning, Tai-Su had been planning to eliminate both of them. He intended to frame Hei-ran as the one responsible for the kidnapping and murder of Seo-jin. That way he could take all the money and disappear, leaving Hei-ran to take the blame. In the final moment, he prepares to shoot her. But once again, the gun fails to fire. That split second gives Hei-ran a chance to fight back. She stabs his leg, then knocks him unconscious by striking his head with a rock. Without wasting any time, she rushes back to the hideout to save Seo-jin. As soon as she arrives, she grabs the antidote and injects it into Seo-jin. Once Seo-jin regains consciousness and is able to move again, the two of them try to escape together. But strangely, Tai-Su returns much faster than expected, even with his injured leg. He immediately starts searching for them. At one point, Seo-jin is almost discovered. Just before that happens, Hei-ran signals her to run, while she blocks the door using a mop handle to buy some time. As Tai-Su tries to enter the room, he manages to catch up despite his injuries and slams into Hei-ran. Just as he is about to stab Seo-jin, Hei-ran distracts him at the last second. She quickly turns the situation around and locks him inside a room, giving Seo-jin a chance to escape. With little time left, Seo-jin asks if there is another way out. Hei-ran suddenly remembers a window in the room where Seo-jin was being held, one that was only covered with plywood. They rush there without hesitation and break the glass, hoping it will be their way out. But just as Seo-jin is about to climb through, Tai-Su attacks again. His rage has completely taken over. The situation turns violent once more, and this time Hei-ran is stabbed in the stomach. Seo-jin is also caught in the chaos as Tai-Su continues his assault. Even then, Seo-jin refuses to back down. Her defiance only fuels Tai-Su's anger, pushing him further out of control as he lashes out at her. At the final moment, just as Seo-jin is about to be killed, she grabs the pointed pliers she had hidden earlier and stabs Tai-Su in the thigh. Hei-ran joins in, helping to restrain him by cuffing his hands. For the first time, the two sisters truly fight together. They combine their strength and finally bring him down, ending everything right there. Afterward, they make their way out, desperate to find help so Hei-ran can get medical treatment. But something unexpected happens when they try to start the car. Instead of Tai-Su's usual vehicle, a luxury car behind them suddenly turns on. When they check the trunk, they find a bag filled with cash. It confirms that Young-shin had already delivered the ransom. Tai-Su had planned to take the money for himself all along, which is why he tried to eliminate both of them and frame Hei-ran as the sole culprit. In the end, the story closes with the two of them driving away together in that car, leaving everything behind. So the moral of the story is never trust a guy who says he can find your dad, but somehow can't fix a jammed gun.